Hey everyone, let's look at an outline of what your evaluation essay would be like in terms of the introduction and the little bit about the background information, but mostly focusing on characteristics and how we would go about pulling samples for those characteristics. So I'm using the information from the PowerPoint on the lady with the long neck. So you have also another example on the Starry Night and how it's an example of postmodernism in the lecture notes and a sample essay. So I just wanted to give you a second example. So we're looking at the lady with the long neck, and which is an example of the Renaissance movement called Mannerism. So we have our introduction, of course, background paragraph discussing the history behind Mannerism. Now my options for introducing the characteristics are twofold. That's why I have two different organization strategies here. It doesn't matter which one you do as long as you both explain what these characteristics are and then find examples of them. It doesn't matter how you organize it. So in this first outline, I would probably have an entire paragraph, and this is what I did in the Starry, Starry Night, the Van Gogh sample, is I explained all of the characteristics of mannerism at one time. I did that in one paragraph. So I explain what I mean by limbs and features being elongated. I explain what I mean by the atmospheric background, and I explain what I mean by the unnatural positioning of the limbs in the paintings. Those are my characteristics. How would I know that this is an example of a Mannerist painting? Well, these are three of the characteristics that should be there. All right. Then what I decided to do was in each subsequent body paragraph, I decided to tackle one of those characteristics at a time. So in my first body paragraph, I decided to talk about the examples from the painting that exhibit the features and limbs being elongated. So I'd look for all those features in the painting. In my second body paragraph, I decided to talk about the examples of how the background in the painting is atmospheric. And then the third one, I look for all the limbs that may be unnaturally positioned, and I point them out to my reader. So I talk about the characteristics, what they are, in one paragraph, and then in my subsequent paragraphs for each one of the characteristics, and I happen to have three here, I have three body paragraphs that give examples of those characteristics. So explanation all at one place, and my examples in the three separate paragraphs. All right. Alternately, I could have, instead of a paragraph that has all my characteristics explained and then separate paragraphs for my examples, I can do my explanation and my examples in paragraphs as I go. So in this organizational strategy here, in my first body paragraph, I explain what I mean by the features and limbs being elongated, and I also find examples from the painting of this. Then my second characteristic is about atmosphere. I explain what I mean about the atmosphere. And then I find examples in the painting of that characteristic. And then I do that same thing with my find. When again I have 3, you might have 14, you may have 2. It doesn't matter as long as you're explaining the characteristic and providing examples. It doesn't matter whether you do them separately or together as you go.